Welcome to episode 50 of Full Throttle, the Presidio Group's automotive industry podcast. I'm your host, Jason Stein, managing director at Presidio.
You know, I'm seeing a lot of people unwinding deals or trying to unwind deals they did during COVID, or, you know, people that got into the business. And I said it at AICPA that day, which is probably why I'll never be invited back. But I said, hey, there's a lot of people here in this crowd. There's a lot of people buying car dealerships that shouldn't be, that probably shouldn't even be in the industry.
Matt Bowers has an observation of the industry. Actually, he doesn't just have an observation. He has a front row seat to what he says is one of the most turbulent shifts in dealership valuations he's seen in years. From sky-high blue sky values during the COVID boom to post-pandemic reality check, Matt pulls no punches in exposing what went wrong, who overpaid, and why many actors are spoiling a few great opportunities. Last month, he told the world on LinkedIn what he's seeing in the market. He wrote about the wave of what he called non-traditional buyers, those groups who come along with non-automotive financial backing and dramatically overpaid for car dealerships, which, as Bowers says, is easy to do when it's not your money. The gold rush of post-COVID M&A has now normalized with a flight to quality and more normal deal cadence. Maybe it was the creation of bad habits that has ended. Maybe the bad actors have been marginalized. Today, we sit down with Bowers to discuss the retail world as it stands today. We talk about the fallout from COVID-era overpaying and why this might not be a market problem, but a bad deal problem. It's Full Throttle with Matt Bowers, owner of Matt Bowers Auto Group.
Hi, I'm Matt Bowers, and this is Presidio's podcast, Full Throttle.
What an absolute pleasure to get together with a longtime friend, somebody who I've had great admiration for, do have great admiration for in the industry, and what he's doing at like seemingly all levels all the time. Matt, thank you for being on the program. Thanks for being with me.
Man, it's great to be here, Jason. Good to see you.
Good to see you again. Good to be with you. Let's talk a little bit about industry. Your view. You pride yourself on speaking what you know to be the truth, your truth from the ground floor. So what are you seeing out there? How's your world?
My world's busy. You know, I have 12 locations, 4 states, $1 billion top line company. You know, but there's a saying that if you put all your troubles in the middle of a table, if everybody did that, you would take yours back. And so my problems, I don't have any problems. You know, my problems are I'm busy. I have a lot of demand on my time. But those are all good things. And those are things I chose. You know, I could have been an English professor or a school teacher or a fireman, and I chose to be a car dealer and go scale a big private auto group. So I've been well, and things have been busy. The industry's been one thing after the next, you know, from tariffs to the possibility of wars, you know, to global pandemics. I don't know. I thought I had seen it all when I started. I hadn't seen anything.
Yeah, right. So what are you seeing for the first half of the year? How is business faring for you?
At my car dealerships, you know, and I have a mix of domestic and imports, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Tennessee. I would say, as a matter of fact, we're off to a better start to this year to date, than we were last year. Some of that's expected, though. You know, I have a group that I promoted a lot of people inside of my company, which has been discussed. And so theoretically, if you build a business and you do it correctly and you promote people inside of your company, your culture should get better. Your results should get better year 1 to year 2 to year 3, year 7 to year 8. They should continually get better until you do something to alter that. So we're having more success this year than last year. So I would say business is good. So far, so good.
How are you handling? There's been so much talk in the industry through June here, the first 6 months of the year, about the impact on tariffs. What are you seeing in the ground floor?
I haven't seen a lot. I don't think it's a thing that the consumer comes in and discusses with the dealer. In my experience, I haven't seen anybody say, "Hey, I'm here to buy the car before it's impacted by tariffs." Now, that might be a conversation that happens privately at home, but from the dealer standpoint, it's not discussed on the showroom floor that often. We don't advertise around it or do anything like that. It hasn't had a great impact on our business, thankfully, so far.
And even inventory levels.
Not so far, not with the brands I have. I would say it might be a good thing to some degree. I think the beginning of the year, late last year and early this year, you had some OEs, wholesaling cars like it's 2015 again. That slowed up a little bit, which is a good in general for the industry to kind of, get things in balance. You never want things too far one way or the other. We saw that, over the cycles in this business, and you saw it during COVID on the extreme other end.
You wrote a very thoughtful piece recently on LinkedIn, and it was titled Market Observations. And you said the buy-sell market has been way off this year. It's been well documented, but you're consistently seeing a couple of things. And I want to walk through those things, if you will. Wait, sure. Before we get into it, what prompted you to write the piece on LinkedIn?
I thought about, I was reminded of I was a guest speaker at AICPA when they came to New Orleans a couple of years ago. And it was a fantastic event, by the way, and in my hometown of New Orleans. And somebody jogged my memory and said, "Hey, I was there and I saw you speak and you talked about these things that are happening." And sure enough, now they're happening, So I was reminded of a pseudo prediction that I gave a few years ago as to what I see the future being, and there's a few things, sadly, maybe I was right about.
Yeah, let's talk about a couple of those things. Okay. You wrote that nearly every day that you're presented stores that were bought from late 2020 to early 23, obviously peak COVID car business time, those are stores that people paid 20 to 30 million blue and are now losing money. And some are losing millions of dollars plus debt service. And the seller wants to try to get their money back, and the stores are worth half or less of what they paid for. Or if they did a sale lease back, they're worth, in your opinion, zero. And you've had, as you wrote, several that have hypothetically asked to just assume the lease and the store is free, you would pass. So what phenomena is going on here that you want to talk about?
I mean, people ask me what I'm seeing, and I'm seeing a lot of that. I'm seeing, I'm seeing a lot of people unwinding deals or trying to unwind deals they did during COVID, or, people that got into the business. And I said it at AICPA that day, which is probably why I'll never be invited back. But I said, hey, there's a lot of people here in this crowd. There's a lot of people buying car dealerships that shouldn't be, that probably shouldn't even be in the industry.
Non-traditional buyers, you called them.
Well, I called them non-traditional, non-operational, buyers, let's call
right.
it,
right.
not car dealers. And so, I've seen a lot of that over the last year, but I would say it's intensified over the last 90 days for some reason. Mainly because the business is getting more difficult, and you can sustain so long, until that you have to deal with an issue, and so look, there were a lot of good deals made during COVID. There were a lot of poor deals made. And I think some of the poor ones are, it's becoming reckoning day for some of those, I would say.
Yeah, you wrote that many of those non-traditional buyers or operators went out and dramatically overpaid for car dealerships, which is easy to do when it's not even your money, as you said.
I mean, it's the truth, right?
Right.
I think it's the truth. I mean, I think it's easier to spend someone else's money than your own.
Right.
So yeah, it makes you more flexible on price, probably.
And you actually call the slowdown in buy sells not a market thing, but a seller thing and a bad deal thing. Explain that to me a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I think the market. I think there's plenty of qualified buyers. Um, I think there's an appetite for buying auto dealerships in the United States. I don't think that's changed a bit at all. I think that what's changed is that there's a segment of people selling them that are going to have a difficult time selling them. So I see people go from broker to broker. I see a lot of just not traditional deals. Like usually a deal, like me, for example, I've said this before, like when I sell something, I want to sell it, so I'm a motivated seller. I've decided to sell this, I'm going to sell it. I go to the market with that intention. Over the last year, you've seen a lot of, I would just call them not your general reasons for getting out. Usually it's, I don't want to continue doing this. I don't have a succession plan. I don't feel like working hard for another 10 years. This is a whole different set of reasons right here. This is, I did a deal that doesn't work and now I'm trying to get out of it. The problem is that there's a lot of resistance by buyers like me, like a lot of other people. During COVID, there was sort of a fear of missing out effect. I saw deals, little deals, just get bought immediately. Deals that traditionally are hard to sell. Well, today there's far less demand. So there's less flexibility on the buyer side, I should say right now.
Well, I should say too, it's all really about setting proper expectations, isn't it, Matt? I mean, at Presidio, all of our deals are moving, our pipeline is robust, but we're setting proper expectations. And obviously there's a professionalism aspect here too. Do you want to talk a bit about that? And I mean professional from the sense of all ends of the deal, understanding how much the deal is actually worth and acting with the right amount of, I would say, discipline.
Well, another thing that happens when there's too many buyers for car dealerships, there's also probably too many brokers for car dealerships during that same time frame. So I think that listings are listings. It's just like anything else. But I have a lot of people that call me today to try to sell me car dealerships that don't, they don't know anything about car dealerships at all. Not even a little bit. And that's fine. But, some of the pretense, some of the listings are taken are probably problematic, Jason. So yeah, I'm seeing a lot of deals that are being unwound that were done during COVID. And I'm finally seeing them get unwound now. A few months ago, it was more like, hey, I don't know if I want to sell this. We're not sure if I got the right money, I would sell it. Now it's like, okay, what's it worth? We want to sell it. So, it's just not a good thing. I don't think it's a good thing for the industry. I don't think it's a good thing for the buy market. But I think it's not surprising. It's the least surprising thing. I'm a car dealer, so if I went to Argentina and decided to buy a bunch of pet stores, I wouldn't know what they're worth. I wouldn't know who's a good pet store operator. I wouldn't know anything about it. And I could hire somebody and meet him at a Starbucks and have him do it. But what if I'm wrong? There was just sort of a cavalier attitude around risk and money I saw during COVID. That was alarming to me.
Right.
In general. Yeah.
Can you tell the story that you wrote about the deal that you were remembering in Texas back in 2022 and how it was pitched to you?
Yeah, I was at, yes. I mean, that's a great microcosm, the story of that era. I was in NADA in Las Vegas. And I had a person call me and say, hey, I got a deal. I'm not going to give the town, but it's a big town, a major metro, let's call it. And Historically, the store makes $2 or $3 million a year. The guy's owned it for a long time. It's trending to make $7 million this year. It made almost $7 million last year. This is 2022. This call happened.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want for it? It's a great deal. It's 4 times. He wants 28.5. I'm like, there ain't no way. There ain't no way. Oh, it's a chance to get into a major metro. This is your ticket. This is your lucky day. I said, I'm good. Well, that same person I saw later in the evening at the hotel for a beer. And I said, do you really think you're going to sell that deal? He's already sold it. I hung up with you and sold it. Literally 30 minutes later. To some guys from out of town, like real out of town, they paid $28 million goodwill for our dealership. So fast forward to early this year, same conversation, same guy. Hey, I got a store, might be available, big metro town. It's the same store, except now it's losing $5 million, lost like literally, I want to say $4.5 million through the first 5 months of this year. And I'm thinking, my God, I don't know. But listen, I'm a private car dealer that's using his own money. If I make a mistake like that, like a catastrophic mistake, they take everything I have. Okay. Right. That's that important to me to get it right. But if I got a pool of investors and I'm syndicating money and giving people a 6% return during COVID, I mean, it's like, let's buy everyone we can. This is the easiest business in the world. Let's just go do this, But if you're not a person from the industry, you don't understand the cyclicality of the brands, and you don't understand the risk with the people, all the stuff that we know as car dealers that we live with every day. But what if you didn't know that? You buy all these car dealerships and a brand blows up. I owned 4 Nissan dealerships when Carlos Ghosn was sent to prison. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. My phone alerted and I had to look at it like 5 times. Okay. I was in Yokohama 2 weeks before that. And when I went through the pro forma, I used to have like kind of a base case and then like a upside case. Well, after that experience, my thoughts on entering a new deal is I ask myself, what is likely to happen? And then what is the worst possible thing I can think of that could happen? And if that happens, how do I get out? That's how I look at car deals, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But I never considered the CEO of the company being incarcerated in Japan. I didn't think of that.
And then escaping in a music box.
And he got out. Yeah. And I got out. So everybody got out. Not
everybody got out.
Not everybody. Anyway.
We've been thinking at Presidio about a theory that is kind of called the gold rush of post-COVID M&A that is now normalized with a flight to quality and more normal deal cadence. And kind of what you said, from 21 on, during the height of it, there were a slew of new buyers who came to market, but also a slew of new brokers and deal makers because of that heightened pace of deals and the ease of getting things done. You hinted at that just a moment ago. And that created bad habits and probably brought inexperienced players into the advisory space. Will you agree with that?
I mean, the risk of getting myself in trouble, but I stay in trouble doing shows like this. But I would say, of course, yes. Just like anything else, there's a in a great market, and I would characterize the auto business during COVID as something past the great market. I don't know what that was. It was awesome. Okay. Right. But you could call people on the phone and tell them $28 million for the store I just told you about. And if they said no, you picked up and called the next person. And they said yes. And you make $1 million success fee. It's like, now that's the easiest business in the world, right? Let me go quit my, let me go quit my job and go do this, And so probably
show up at the closing for the money.
Yeah. But I mean, it's like everything. And so, I say it sadly, I'm old enough now to have some perspective through different cycles in time where, everything we've seen before, you know, um, we've seen it before. We've seen that space get crowded. We've seen people come in, from outside and do the same kind of behaviors, some with some success and some with no success at all. And, I think you'll continue seeing that, as the cycles continue to change. I think this next cycle, I said it at AICPA a couple of years ago, and I'll say it right here. The golden age of the buy sell isn't what we experienced during COVID. I don't think it's the $1 billion deals. Like, those happened. I think this next era, the unwinding of all those deals, the retiring of a lot of old guys, you're going to get the next Terry Taylor, the next Larry Ventile. You're going to get that. And, that person's probably not going to be working at Goldman. He might be working at Toyota McKinney, probably some guy you never heard of, but he's probably going to be a car operator ultimately. That's what I believe.
And I think a great advice for everybody out there that you would concur with, based on the piece that you wrote, is properly valuing things, matching the right players on a deal, seeing through the whole process, and no gold rush.
There's a boom and there's a bust to every gold rush, right? Yeah. So, look, and I don't like to see, like, it's the last thing I want to see is that, people struggling or having difficult times with things that they bought. But I think the people that respect the business, I think I saw some things during COVID, especially in the buy sell space, that, I watched people talk. I saw their actions, and it occurred to me, like, clearly this isn't their own money. And clearly these people have lost respect for what this business is. It's made a lot of people very wealthy, as you know. It has also left there's a trail of tears on the way to that. There's a lot of people whose lives got, significantly altered for the worse. It's a risky business that you have to have great operational acumen to survive, or an unlimited pile of money. Okay. One or the other. I don't have the unlimited pile of money. So I'm forced to know what I'm doing to keep going.
Yeah. Love listening to, hearing your thoughts, and you always make us think here in your incredibly thoughtful way. So appreciate you, Matt. Thank you for being on the program. You didn't get yourself into any trouble, but you were a great guest as always.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys at Presidio, and my pleasure. Can't wait to join you again.
Thank you so much, Matt.
Thanks.
That's the 50th episode of Full Throttle, and a special thanks to my guest, Matt Bowers, owner of Matt Bowers Auto Group. Thanks for listening. For a library of these episodes with industry leaders, go to thepresidiogroup.com. You can also find a library of these shows on the Presidio Group's YouTube channel. I'm your host, Jason Stein. We'll talk to you again next time.